Trump's tariff threats earned him accolades. Ex-Attorney General of USA, Eric Holder, compared him to a scared dictator.
Bill Barr.
A disaster, an abomination, an embarrassment.
Merrick Garland.
A good guy, a good attorney general. He's still got a lot of heavy work in front of him.
President Obama.
The man. History is going to treat him quite well. A good friend and a great president.
President Biden.
A good guy, a good president, a person I've known for a great deal of time. History is going to be kind to him, but he's got some really difficult things to do in the next few years.
President Trump.
A real danger to our democracy, a person who can't become president again.
UK MP Ed Davey called him international gangster.
President Trump is acting like an international gangster, threatening to trample over the sovereignty of an ally, threatening the end of NATO altogether, and now threatening to hit our country and 7 European allies with outrageous, damaging tariffs unless he gets his hands on Greenland. This is an incredibly grave moment for the United Kingdom, Europe and our world. Without provocation or justification, the President of the United States is attacking our economy, our livelihoods and our national security. Trump has put British businesses and jobs on the front line in his unprovoked aggression. The only people cheering him on are Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. Only a few months ago, Trump hailed the special relationship at Windsor Castle. Now, thanks to his actions, it is nearly in tatters.
One magazine called Trump's actions international thuggery.
Breaking political news from Washington as White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, a powerful and longtime Trump ally, has drawn attention with unusually candid remarks about President Donald Trump and top aides in a wide-ranging Vanity Fair interview. Wiles, who rarely speaks publicly about internal dynamics, described Trump as having an alcoholic's personality, a phrase meant to illustrate his intense drive and relentlessness rather than drinking behavior. She also offered pointed critiques of Attorney General Pam Bondi's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case and her own misgivings about aspects of Trump's immigration strategy and tariff impacts, signaling an unusually candid view from someone at the center of the administration. The interview has fueled questions about internal White House dynamics and how well Trump's closest advisors can handle both policy and public perception as political pressures build ahead of key national elections.
In Zurich, the protesters shouted, "Trump stir the dumpster, go away." And Danish lawmaker Anders Vistesen said, "Fuck off."
Let me put this in words you might understand. Mr. President, fuck off. Det var næsten sådan ordene lød, da jeg for et år siden stod på den selv samme talerstol og sagde meget klart, at hvis Trump...
I'm sorry, colleague, this is against our rules. As much as you might feel, or the room might feel in this, we have clear rules about cuss words, language that is inappropriate in this room. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it is unacceptable, even if you might have strong political feelings about this.
Well-deserved epithets.
You are watching Sanglikar's Weekly.
Trump's demand. Nobel Peace Prize. US President Donald Trump wrote a letter to Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store linking the Nobel Committee's refusal to award him the Nobel Peace Prize to his hardened stance on Greenland. In the letter, obtained by Bloomberg, Trump said he no longer felt bound to think purely of peace and asserted that the world would not be secure without complete and total control of Greenland. The letter, circulated by the US National Security Council to several European governments, accused Denmark of failing to counter Russian and Chinese threats in the Arctic.
Norway reacts. Storr said Trump's letter was a response to an earlier message and reiterated that the Nobel Peace Prize is decided by an independent committee, not the Norwegian government. Denmark, Greenland and several European nations rejected Trump's claims, with leaders insisting the island is not for sale and warning that tariff threats could damage transatlantic ties. Trump has vowed to impose escalating tariffs on European allies unless the US is allowed to buy Greenland, even as protests erupted across the island against American control. Trump has sued banking giant J.P. Morgan Chase and its CEO Dimon for $5 billion. Trump claims that his banking services were stopped for political reasons. Soon after, J.P. Morgan stocks rose, and bank made gains of rupees 40,200 crores.
President Trump is suing J.P. Morgan Chase and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, for $5 billion, saying the company closed his accounts for political reasons after he left office in 2021. The lawsuit alleges the decision, known as debanking, abruptly cut the Trump organization off from access to millions of dollars and disrupted its operations. In a statement, J.P. Morgan said the suit lacks merit, adding that the company does not close accounts for political or religious reasons. Trump and other conservatives have accused banks of improperly cutting off their accounts following the January 6th attack.
Sanglikars Weekly.
Trump threatens 200% tariffs on French wine, champagne over Board of Peace snub.
Have you invited President Putin to be a member of the Board of Peace?
Yeah, he's been invited.
And do you have any response to President Macron saying he will not join the Board of Peace?
Oh, did he say that? Well, yeah. Nobody wants him because he's going to be out of office very soon. So, that's all right. What I'll do is if they feel like Costo, I'll put a 200% tariff on his wines and champagnes, and he'll join. But he doesn't have to join. If he said that, you're probably giving it to me a little bit differently. But if he actually did say that, but as you know, he's going to be out of office in a few months.
Did you invite?
Russia, Ukraine and US. Discussions at Davos meet.
In Davos, Switzerland earlier today, President Trump met on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
How was your meeting with President Trump, Mr. Zelensky? How was the meeting?
Their meeting happened away from the cameras, but afterwards, both leaders used the word good when describing the talks. And in his address to the forum, Zelensky cited progress on peace efforts and called on Russia to come to the table to end the war.
The documents aimed at ending this war are nearly ready. Ukraine is working with full honesty and determination, and that brings results. And Russia must become ready to finish this war, to stop this aggression.
Zelensky was also critical of Europe's slow and disjointed response to the war in Ukraine, comparing his repeated warnings of the threat Russia poses to the film Groundhog Day. It comes as President Trump's envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, are in Moscow, where they met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Meantime, on the ground in Ukraine, the latest Russian strikes hit the eastern city of Dnipro, where at least 7 people were injured.
Sanglikars Weekly.
USA exit from WHO takes effect.
Today marks America's official withdrawal from the World Health Organization 1 year after President Trump signed an executive order setting the nation's exit in motion. The pullout threatens to plunge the WHO into an even deeper budget crisis, with Washington long being the health agency's biggest financial backer. The U.S. is also leaving behind a $260 million bill in unpaid fees, even as it's required by law to pay all outstanding debts. The State Department today argued that the American people have paid more than enough to this organization, and this economic hit is beyond any financial obligations to the organization.
Sanglikars Weekly.
Though he faced violent protests with thousands shouting slogans, "Yankee go away," Trump called his Davos visit a grand success. Yes, he did get adverse publicity.
Werden Protestierende vom Regime erschossen. In Palästina.
Alles, was ich rappe, wird ein Schlag in deine Fresse. Diese Bassline.
Like, Trump said NATO troops were timid, stayed back, never went to front line in war. Furious British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer called the statement insulting and appalling. He demanded an apology.
We give so much and we get so little in return. And I've been a critic of NATO for many years. And yet I've done more to help NATO than any other president by far.
Like, Canadian PM said, Canada doesn't exist because of USA as claimed by Trump.
When we're Canadian, inclusive, fair, ambitious, Canada grows. Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in the economy, in security, and in rich cultural exchange. But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
PM Modi rolls out red carpet for MBZ and a future-ready India-UAE ties. PM Narendra Modi personally received UAE President Al Noyan at the Delhi airport and later hosted him and his family at his official residence. The PM described MBZ as a brother in a post on X and said the visit reflected the importance the UAE attaches to ties with India. The Prime Minister presented traditional Indian gifts, including a hand-carved Gujarati wooden jhula, Kashmiri pashmina shawls, and saffron, symbolizing culture, family and craftsmanship.
Deals, data, and diplomacy. The two leaders held talks that extended beyond schedule, signed multiple agreements, and set a target to double bilateral trade to $200 billion by 2032. India and the UAE decided to deepen cooperation in nuclear energy, artificial intelligence, space, railways, and data infrastructure, including exploring a digital or data embassy. Both sides agreed to establish a House of India in Abu Dhabi, condemned cross-border terrorism, and expressed support for peace in West Asia and India's BRICS presidency.
Spain train nightmare kills 39.
How the train tragedy unfolded. At least 39 people were killed and dozens injured after a high-speed train derailed and collided with an oncoming train near Córdoba. The tail end of the Malaga-Madrid service, carrying about 300 passengers, derailed, crossed onto the opposite track, and slammed into a Madrid-Huelva train with around 200 passengers. Passengers broke windows with emergency hammers, with some escaping without serious injuries. Witnesses said the collision felt like an earthquake, and smoke filled several carriages.
Dozens of people have been killed in a high-speed train collision in southern Spain, according to Spanish police. The collision happened at 7:45 p.m. on Sunday, when a high-speed train derailed, jumped onto the opposite track, and slammed into an oncoming train. The crash happened near Ademuz, around 242 miles south of Spain's capital, Madrid. The train was carrying 300 passengers en route from Malaga to Madrid. Spanish police said 159 people were injured, of whom 5 were in critical condition. Rescue efforts are still underway.
Donald Trump attacked the UK for moving to return Diego Garcia to Mauritius, calling it a reckless surrender of a vital U.S. military base. He warned that China and Russia would exploit the handover and linked the move to his argument that only strength commands respect. Trump suggested the decision reinforced his case for acquiring Greenland, accusing European allies of repeated strategic weakness. The UK and Mauritius had signed a treaty to return sovereignty over Diego Garcia, a deal backed quietly by India as part of decolonization. India supported Mauritius with financial and security assistance and planned cooperation in the Chagos region to counter Chinese influence. Trump's intervention threatened to disrupt these arrangements, even though the US retained full access to the base under a long-term lease. Russia-Ukraine war to end. First trilateral talks announced after Davos meet. US President Donald Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, holding hour-long talks focused on ending the Ukraine war. Trump said the meeting went well and sent a direct message to Russian President Vladimir Putin, stressing that the war has to end as casualties continue to mount. Zelensky announced that the first trilateral meeting involving US, Ukrainian, and Russian officials will be held in the UAE from Friday to Saturday, signaling intensified diplomatic efforts. He said documents aimed at ending the war are nearly ready, with US and Ukrainian teams working almost daily on peace plans, security guarantees, and post-war reconstruction. Zelensky also alleged that Europe has failed to act on key measures such as sanctions on Russian oil exports and setting up tribunals to prosecute Russian war crimes. Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif attended a ribbon-cutting ceremony in Sialkot Cantonment to inaugurate a new Pizza Hut outlet. The event featured floral setups, a red carpet and photo opportunities, creating an official, high-profile launch. Social media users quickly noticed inconsistencies, observing that the outlet was not listed on Pizza Hut Pakistan's official store directory, which mostly includes locations in Lahore and Islamabad. Pizza Hut Pakistan issued a statement confirming the Sialkot outlet is unauthorized and has no affiliation with the brand, or Yum Brands. The company warned the outlet did not follow Pizza Hut's recipes, quality standards, or food safety protocols, and has filed a formal complaint with authorities to protect its trademark. Online users turned the incident into a viral meme. One user joked, "Only in Pakistan can a defense minister proudly inaugurate a fake Pizza Hut." Armada on the way. Like, Iran has threatened full-scale war against USA if the latter interferes with Iran's internal affairs. Armada on the way. Iran has issued a formal warning of full-scale retaliation as US military deployments in the Middle East intensify. Tehran's leadership has placed defense forces on heightened alert, preparing for the possibility of extreme scenarios. A senior Iranian official declared that any attack, whether limited, surgical, or kinetic, would be treated as an all-out war, and the response would be unprecedented and severe. This statement comes amid rising regional tensions following US-backed Israeli operations in June. In response, the United States has moved major naval assets, including the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln with escorting destroyers, signaling a strategic posture of deterrence. President Trump confirmed the deployment, stating the fleet is positioned just in case, leaving the door open for potential military action if Iran escalates. Like, 160 churchgoers were kidnapped in Nigeria. Government is tight-lipped on details.
Armed gangs have kidnapped over 160 Christian worshippers after storming 2 churches in Nigeria's northern Kaduna state on Sunday, according to local clergy. Kaduna State Police said bandits carrying sophisticated weapons attacked the 2 churches during their Sunday services. The exact number of people abducted remains unclear. The local head of Nigeria's Christian Association, Reverend Joseph Hayab, said the attackers blocked the entrance of the churches and forced worshippers out into the bush. They initially took 172 people, but 9 escaped. 163 worshippers are believed to remain with the kidnappers, according to Hayab. Police told Reuters that troops and security agencies had been deployed to the area and that efforts were underway to track the abductors and rescue the captives. Sunday's attacks are the latest in a recent wave of abductions targeting both Christians and Muslims in Nigeria.
Fears of meningitis. Like UK has recalled contaminated popular food items over fears of meningitis. Scary. Sinners runs away with 16 Oscar nominations. The 98th Academy Awards is preparing to light up the Dolby Theatre in Los Angeles on March 15th, with a star-studded live broadcast on ABC and Hulu, and Conan O'Brien returning to steer the show. Ryan Coogler's Sinners set a new record leading with 16 nominations, the most ever for a single film. The film earned nods for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Screenplay, while Michael B. Jordan received his first Oscar nomination for Best Actor. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another followed closely with 13 nominations, as Warner Brothers emerged as the most nominated studio, collecting 30 nods overall. Oscar for Sinners.
And a blues-infused vampire epic has made Oscar history.
Sinners.
Michael B. Jordan in Sinners. And Ryan Coogler, Sinners.
The film Sinners is nominated for a record 16 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. That breaks the previous record of 14 nominations set by All About Eve, Titanic, and La La Land. The action-packed One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, trails just behind with 13 nods. Both films made the cut in a brand new category, Best Casting, alongside Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and The Secret Agent. The 98th Academy Awards ceremony will air on Sunday, March 15th.
Sanglikars Weekly.
Like, an enterprising journalist has found out world's most expensive divorce settlement figures. Jeff Bezos paid Mackenzie Scott $38 billion.
Sometimes a simple no can make you a billionaire. This woman got paid to say I don't. She is Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife and the 4th richest woman of 2019. When their 25-year marriage ended, the settlement equaled 3 islands, 12 NBA teams, or 38,000 Lamborghinis. Here's the twist. She took $38 billion in Amazon stock, but zero control. Bezos kept the power. Then she donated over $17 billion, faster than Bezos builds rockets. Charity? Or maybe the ultimate tax hack? And the wildest part? Bezos stayed #1 richest man even after paying her.
And Bill Gates paid Melinda $7.9 billion.
The $8 billion transfer. Did you know Bill Gates just quietly transferred nearly $8 billion to his ex-wife Melinda? It happened years after their divorce was finalized, a divorce settlement for the ages. Years after the split, even though they split back in 2021, this massive payment happened recently in 2024 to boost her pivotal Philanthropies Foundation, the cost of splitting billions. A $12.5 billion deal. This donation is part of a staggering $12.5 billion agreement made when she left their joint charitable foundation, reshaping the world of charity. Still a titan, despite the huge payout, Bill is still worth over $120 billion. Melinda now cements her status as a global philanthropy titan, wealth beyond imagination.
The enterprising journalist is now working on divorce settlement figures of 92-year-old Rupert Murdoch. Lazy Bee. The 24th of January, 2026.